Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute, Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today, we are commemorating International Day of Women Judges, which is a very important day. Today, as already mentioned, today we are commemorating and celebrating International Day of Women Judges every year on 10th March. To achieve justice, we need more women in justice. Despite women increased engagement in public life, they remain significantly underrepresented in decision-making positions. In fact, a relatively small number of women have been or are part of judiciary, particularly at senior judicial leadership positions. Women representation in the judiciary is key to ensuring that courts represent their citizens, address their concerns, and hand down sound judgments. By their mere presence, women judges enhance the legitimacy of courts, sending a powerful signal that they are open and accessible to those who seek recourse to justice. The entry of women judges into spaces from which they had historically been excluded has been a positive step in the dedication of judiciaries being perceived as being more transparent, inclusive, and representative of the people whose lives they affect. By marking the day, we will reaffirm our commitment to develop and implement appropriate and effective national strategies and plans for the advancement of women and judicial justice systems and institutions of the leadership, managerial, and other levels. So join us in celebrating this International Day of Women with the campaign Women in Justice, Women for Justice, to promote the full and equal participation of women at all levels of the judiciary, to celebrate the progress that had made, raise awareness about the challenges ahead. So the Global Judicial Integrity Network of United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes bring together the female judges to learn from each other's lived experiences and provide a source of solidarity. Women judges and the achievement of gender equality. The representation of women in judiciary is significant for many reasons. In addition to ensuring that the legal system is developed with all of society in mind, It also inspires the next generation of female judges and motivate them to achieve their goals. Women in the criminal justice system can act as agents of change and contribute to greater accountability. Women judges bring different perspectives and experiences strengthening judicial systems. Women in leadership roles help disrupt networks of collusion, striking a blow against corruption. Women's representation in law and enforcement and judicial institutions have been linked to more effective victim centered response to crime. By investing in women advancement and women justice leaders, we can help ensure that justice is better served and the women and all members of societies are met with fairness and equality before the law for the benefit of all. Only through the active participation of women on equal terms with men at all levels of decision making will be able to achieve sustainable development, peace, and democracy. While equality in judiciary has been historically uneven, steps are being taken to remedy this as evidenced by the declaration by United Nations General Assembly of 10th March as the International Day of Women Judges. The General Assembly resolution drafted by the state of Qatar is tangible proof of a positive shift. So, redressing gender inequalities is also the core of UNODC's strategy for gender equality, and the empowerment of women is a goal shared by the global program for the implementation of the Doha Declaration as it works to promote a culture of lawfulness around the world, providing education and training and supporting the full participation of women in every professional sphere. Peace can be achieved through justice, said years ago Iris Yasmin Barrios Aguilar, a judge for the first criminal court of Guatemala, who took the case of Sipur Zarco in her country. This case was historical as it obtained the condemnation of two former soldiers guilty of rape, forced labor, and slavery of indigenous rural women. In recent years, the number of young women graduating from law school has increased immensely. Nevertheless, the saturation of the judiciary is still low. Representation of women in the judiciary and hear the voices of many women who have paved way and were able to overcome biases and rise to the positions in the highest courts. 40% of the judges were women in 2017, which is 35% more in 2008. In 1946, Eleanor Roosevelt famously penned an open letter to the women of the world, urging their increased involvement in national and international affairs. In most European countries, there are more women than men, professional judges or magistrates. However, women represent 41% of the judges in national Supreme Courts and only 25% of court presidents. To achieve justice, we need more women in justice. Women in criminal justice system can act as an agents of change, diversity, inclusion, enrich all institutions and contribute to greater accountability. Women judges bring different perspectives and experiences. Strengthening judicial systems, women in leadership roles help disrupt networks of collusion, striking a blow against corruption. Women's representation in law enforcement and judicial institutions has been linked to more effective victim centered responses to crime. The number of women and girls coming into contact with the criminal justice system as witness, victims, and prisoners have increased in the past 20 years. However, greater efforts are still needed to support women to access justice and ensure that criminal justice institutions fully respond to their needs. By investing in women's advancement and women justice leaders, we can help ensure that justice is better served and that women and all members of our societies are met with fairness and equality before the law for the benefit of all. Let's watch a short video.
To achieve justice, we need more women in justice. Women in the criminal justice system can act as agents of change. Women judges bring different perspectives and experiences, strengthening judicial systems. Diversity and inclusion enrich all institutions and contribute to greater accountability. Women's representation in law enforcement and judicial institutions has been linked to more effective, victim-centered responses to crime. By investing in women's advancement and women justice leaders, we can help ensure that justice is better served and that women and all members of our societies are met with fairness and equality before the law, for the benefit of all.
Today, we are commemorating this entire week is being commemorated by various commemorations. We'll look at weekly commemorations for this week, and then we will move on to daily commemorations of today. So this week is commemorated as Girl Scout Week in US. Girl Scout Week starts from Girl Scout Sunday and ends on Girl Scout Sabbath on a Saturday to mark great sisterhood of Girls Scouting and to commemorate the day when the organization was born. This year it takes place from March 10th to March 16th. Juliet Gordon Lowe got the idea of founding the Girl Scouts after meeting with the founder of Scouting, Robert Baden-Powell. in 1911. Girl Scouts, also known as Girl Scouts of the United States of America, is a youth organization for girls of American origin. It runs camping and community service activities to empower young girls and enable them to build various skills, including leadership, entrepreneurship, active citizenship, confidence, compassion, and courage. In 1911, while living in the United Kingdom, Juliet Gordon Low met with the founder of Scouting, Robert Baden-Powell. From this meeting, Low developed the idea to create a girls-only organization that brings girls out of their home to the great outdoors to serve the communities and provide a platform for them to develop self-reliance and resourcefulness. Upon arriving in the United States, Low began planning to start Girl Scouting. On March 12, 1912, Low gathered 18 girls and organized the first Girl Guide Group meeting in Savannah, Georgia, that officially led to the founding of the organization. Later that year, Low tried to merge the Girl Guides with the Campfire Girls, but the organization rejected her proposal because Campfire was the larger group. She made the same attempt with Girl Scouts of America, but the founder, Clara Leicester Lane, believed Low copied her organization and threatened her lawsuit. Girl Scouts of America eventually shut down as it lacked financial resources. So in 1913, the organization name was changed to Girl Scouts of United States and became headquartered in Washington, D.C. After being incorporated in 1915, the Girl Scouts of the United Nations moved its national headquarters to New York City. In 1916, Low created the aviation badge, which served to encourage girls to break barriers. From 18 girls in 1912, Girl Scouts of the United States grew to 2 lakh girls in 1930. Low died in 1927 and built her carriage house to the local Savannah Girl Scouts. In 1941, the Girl Scouts established the Wing Scout program for senior Girl Scout members interested in flying and serving their country. Unfortunately, the program ended in 1970s when United Airlines, the main sponsor for the program, suffered financial setbacks. The organization finally changed its name to Girl Scouts of United States of America in 1947, and on March 16, 1950, it received a congressional charter. There are currently 2.5 million Girl Scouts to 1.7 girl members and 750,000 adult members in the United States. This week is also commemorated as National Bubblegum Week in US, which is a unique celebration that takes place during the second week of March annually. This year it takes place from March 10th to 16th. This year event promotes bubblegum as an essential industry for manufacturing, but it also gives us a chance to celebrate and honor bubblegum in other ways. That's because Bubblegum Week turns bubblegum into a fun fight and shows how chewing gum has benefited our society, so that we can learn more about this practical type of chew. The first documented mention of bubblegum was an editorial in the New York Post in 1848, which claimed that the guy called Frank Fleet developed it. He did not, however, find a means to mass produce the product until 1906, when he created Blibber Blubber, the first commercial bubblegum. Bubblegum was originally pink because it was the only food coloring available at that time, but now comes in many different colors and flavors. This week is also commemorated as National Groundwater Awareness Week in United States. National Groundwater Awareness Week is from March 10th to 16th, which is celebrated, and we are elated at this opportunity to learn more and take the opportunity to make our groundwater safe. It accounts for half of the world's population drinking water. Water is one of the world's most vital resources which supports life, animals, plants, humans, the whole ecosystem, and the earth depend on water for their continued existence. As humans, we use water every day for myriad day-to-day activities like cooking, drinking, bathing, farming, and many more. Water covers 71% of the Earth's surface in contrast to the bare ground surface open, which we all step and build our houses and structures. One might have thought that this would make water readily available for consumption, but 97% of water is ocean water, salty and undrinkable, with only 3% of fresh and suitable water for drinking, the top of which is groundwater. Groundwater is water situated deep under the ground in aquifers, a body of rock that holds water. It is what most time constitutes well water when we dig deep into the earth to source water and is the largest available fresh water on the earth. As far back as 9,000 years ago, man began the search for fresh water, digging the earth with their hands and crude tools for water below the earth. Over the years, sophisticated methods have risen, leading to wells, bore wells, and other water exploitation sources. Solving the problem of fresh water for man's sustenance, people in countries all over the world make use of groundwater, and in the US, groundwater is the most commonly engaged source for public water supplies. National Groundwater Awareness Week is a time of the year set aside to advocate for cleanliness and safety of groundwater, especially for private water well owners to test, and treat their water systems. This reminds us not to take water for granted, as the import of groundwater into our current existence can be little. This week is also commemorated as National Inhalants and Poisons Awareness Week in US, which takes place in the third week of March each year. As you know, depending on the day, month starts or the week starts, it sometimes falls in, that week is calculated of second or third week. So this year it takes place from March 10th to 16th. Innocuous objects around the house can severely impair health. Harmful inhalants lie in most household products such as sprays, polishes, and glue. Repeated exposure to these chemicals can affect our heart, lung, and brain health in the long term. National Inhalant and Poisons Awareness Week creates awareness and shares preventive measures that we all take. The National Inhalant Prevention Coalition was created this week to raise public awareness. Dangerous inhalants have several and lie inconspicuously around the average American home. Since these substances produce vapors, people may unwittingly be breathing toxic chemicals into their bodies. Inhalants contain psychoactive properties similar to other mood-altering substances such as alcohol, drugs, or benzones. They take effect almost instantly. Within seconds, once inhaled through either the nose or mouth, the lungs quickly absorb the chemicals which travel into the bloodstream and brain. Once embedded in our bodies, the chemicals can impair our breathing, nervous system, and the cardiovascular functions. Most inhalants are incredibly toxic, causing irreparable damage to health. Adolescents are at the highest risk from chemicals. Studies show that inhalant abuse is rampant among teens who sniff glue and other substances for a high. The effects are short lived, but therein lies the danger. Inhalant abusers tend to get their fix for hours through repeated sniffing. Rampant inhalant abuse may lead to withdrawal, addiction, and sometimes even an overdose. There are hundreds of inhalant drugs. They vary in their toxicity, chemical composition, or form. What's scary is many of them are products that we use every day, readily available at any store. So think products such as glue, nail polish removers, or felt tip markers. Toxic inhalants also come in the form of hairspray, fabric protectors, aerosol deodorants. Other sources include helium balloons, paint thinners, and propane tanks. National Inhalants and Poisons Awareness Week aim to create awareness on the dangers of inhalants through public campaigns and resource dissemination. This week is also commemorated as National Older Workers Employment Week in US, which is commemorated in the second full week in March to recognize the contribution of older workers to the workforce and encourage more employers to hire them. This year it takes place from March 10th to 16th. Before the introduction of retirement in 1883, people worked until they could work anymore. They couldn't work anymore. The current retirement age in the United States is 65 years. However, employers have been using various tactics to force people older than 40 years out of workforce in the past few years. National Older Workers Employment Week is an initiative against such forced retirement. The origin of retirement can be traced to ancient Rome in the 13th century BC, when the empire paid pensions to the Roman legionaries who had served for 20 years. In the 18th century, Cotton Mather, a New England Puritan minister and author, used this popularity to campaign for elderly people to retire. He said, "Be glad of dismission, be pleased with the retirement which you are dismissed into." In 1883, Otto von Bismarck, German chancellor, proposed an initiative to pay those 65 and older to leave the workforce. The idea was a political maneuver against Marxists gaining power and popularity. Before the end of the decade, in 1889, the initiative became law and the citizens over 70 were paid pensions. This initiative quickly caught fire and governments began adopting a similar retirement system. This week is also commemorated as Patient Safety Awareness Week. Which is an event created to encourage education on health safety. According to the World Health Organization, over 2.6 million deaths are due to unsafe care in hospitals in developed and developing countries. Through Patient Safety Awareness Week, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement hopes to promote important discussions locally and internationally that will lead to improved healthcare safety for caregivers, patients, and the healthcare systems in general. So, Patient Safety Awareness Week is a week-long observation initiated by the National Patient Safety Foundation in 2002. This annual event was created to stimulate discussions on how patient safety can be maximized in healthcare systems. During Patient Safety Awareness Week, the public receives educational information to better equip them in making healthcare decisions. In a 2019 report by the World Health Organization, it was revealed that 1 in every 10 patients in high-income countries suffer from harm resulting from poor safety in the healthcare system. Reports of medical errors and breached patient safety date as far back as 1960s. It was not until early 1990s that the patient safety movement picked up. The patient safety movement followed a publication report by the Leap and Brennan of breached patient safety in 30,000 hospitalized New York State patients back in 1984. The reason for the breach was narrowed down to preventable medical errors. It was also discovered that about 1.3 million injuries and 180,000 deaths could have been prevented across the United States. The medical errors comprising patient safety cannot be entirely attributed to medical staff alone, but all aspects of the healthcare system. According to the Leap's error in medicine published in 1994, Patient Safety Awareness Week highlights the role that medical staff and patients need to play to assure overall safety. Patient safety is not only responsibility of a single individual, but a collective responsibility of healthcare systems, healthcare workers, and patients. This week is also commemorated as Pulmonary Rehab Week in US. Pulmonary Rehab Week is observed in the second Sunday from the second Sunday of March each year. This year it takes place from March 10th to 16th. Established by the American Association for Cardiovascular and Pulmonary Rehabilitation, this week-long event aims to celebrate pulmonary rehabilitation programs and the rehabilitation therapists who administer them. The American Day was created to highlight the importance of rehabilitation and the impact it has on the lives of people with chronic pulmonary illness that severely hamper the functioning of the lungs. Pulmonary rehabilitation programs help such individuals avoid the emergency acute care. Pulmonary diseases like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, have been around for a long time now. But pulmonary rehabilitation, as we know it today, only came about as last as the 1990s. A century ago, the common medical suggestion for patients with COPD was to avoid physical exertion. In 1952, Columbia University, Alvan Barach became one of the earliest proponents of pulmonary rehabilitation through means of exercise. University of Colorado affiliated Thomas Petty designed the first outpatient program for pulmonary rehabilitation. The subsequent years saw the establishment of several rehabilitation programs modeled after Petty and acceptance of exercise as integrated to managing pulmonary diseases. Today, pulmonary rehabilitation helps patients manage a range of illness like COPD, including asthma, pulmonary hypertension, and cystic fibrosis. These supervised programs help improve their quality of life. Pulmonary rehabilitation improves strength, help reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, and makes it easier So today, pulmonary rehabilitation helps patients manage a range of illness like COPD, including asthma, pulmonary hypertension, and cystic fibrosis. These supervised programs help improve their quality of life. Pulmonary rehabilitation improves strength, helps reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, and makes it easier for patient safety to carry out routine tasks, social activities, and programs may be carried out in medical institutions like hospitals or clinics or at home, depending entirely on the unique needs of the patient. With home programs, the intricacies are supervised through dedicated activity monitors or smartphone applications. The specifics of each program are designed by the program supervisor to suit patient needs. The risks associated with pulmonary rehabilitation are few and rare. While it is possible to sustain injuries through physical activities, as long as such difficulties are brought to the attention of the program supervisor on time, the required medical intervention will be administered to the patient. This week is also commemorated as Sleep Awareness Week in US from March 10 to 16. This time to struggle up and catch up some days because you deserve some rest. It is likely that you don't let yourself enough sleep. It's not your fault, it is demanding. As life is demanding, that's why you owe it to yourself to get the extra hours so you desperately need. This annual event created by the National Sleep Foundation seeks to promote better sleep to increase overall health and well-being. It is a well-known fact that your sleep schedule is directly related to overall mental and physical health. Launched in 1998 by the National Sleep Foundation, Sleep Awareness Week begins at the start of daylight saving time when most Americans lose an hour of sleep. The change to daylight saving time reminds us to make beneficial changes in our sleep routines to improve our sleep health according to the National Sleep Foundation. 45% of Americans says that the poor or insignificant sleep affected their daily activities at least once in the past 7 days. The goal is to celebrate the benefits of good and healthy sleep and to draw attention to the burden of sleep problems and to promote the prevention and management of sleep disorders. Sleep loss is a big public safety hazard every day on the road. Drowsiness has the ability to slow reaction as much as drinking drunk. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that the fatigue is a cause of 1 lakh auto crashes and 1,550 crash-related deaths a year in the US. Studies show that sleep loss and poor quality sleep also lead to accidents and injuries on the job. In one day, workers who complained about excessive daytime sleepiness had significantly more work accidents, particularly repeated work accidents. They also had more sick days per accident. It also plays a critical role in thinking and learning. Lack of sleep impairs attention, alertness, concentration, reasoning, problem solving, and makes it more difficult to learn. Lastly, sleep deprivation has a serious negative effect on your chances of cardiovascular health, putting you at risk for a number of life-threatening conditions. So for your own safety and safety of others, make sure you allow yourself the time to rest, and if you can, no better time than the present. Sunshine Week is commemorated in the US in this week to coincide with the National Freedom of Information Day, which occurs on the same day, which takes place from March 10 to 16. United States signed the Freedom of Information Act into law in 1966. It was the third country in the world to do that. Sunshine Week raises awareness of the importance of open government and promotes dialogue on the impact of excessive official secrecy. Public discussions on open government with participants including non-profit schools, civic groups, and media organizations. The Freedom of Information Act is a legal instrument that offers citizens and journalists access to information and documents controlled by the United States government, furthering government transparency. The idea of such an act dates back to 1952 when the John Moss of Sacramento, California was elected to Congress. It was during the Cold War when the government was secretive. Moss began campaigning for openness in governance when he has denied access to the information he needed to investigate employees sacking cases. The government claimed they dismissed the individuals for being communists. In 1955, Moss became the chairman of a congressional subcommittee on government information. Using his new post, Moss had hearings on government transparency and investigated cases of government withholding information. He tried to bring the Freedom of Information Act to Congress, but had no support from anyone in his party, the Republicans. However, he had a massive support base among editors, journalists, education, and scientists. A decade later, Moss finally found a co-sponsor in the person of Ronald Rumsfeld, a young representative from Chicago, Illinois. That was during President Lyndon B. Johnson's regime, who was also in direct opposition to the bill. In 1966, the FOIA successfully passed in the Senate and the House. On July 4, 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the FOIA into law without a public event. Still, he realized a signing statement that did say, "I signed this measure with a deep sense of pride that United States is an open society." This week is also commemorated as Termite Awareness Week in US. Every homeowner's worst nightmare, termites are silent, voracious wood-chewing insects. They are tiny and incredibly sneaky. They are always remain out of sight, and there's just no stopping them. Termites build colonies 24/7 and lose no sleep of sweat over it. Chewing slowly through your home bit by bit, the thought is down terrifying. Termite Awareness Week aims to provide more information on what makes these insects tick and save us a world of hurt and money later. Termites have inhabited the earth for more than 100 million years. These tiny creatures walked the earth with dinosaurs. They also share common ancestry with cockroaches, a creature well known for its incredible resilience. We think it's part of the reason why controlling termite infestation can be such a challenge. Evolution over millions of years has ensured their survival against all odds. Termites are sneaky little things that reproduce rapidly, quietly making their way through the moist soil or mulch. Some termites can fly while others live in wood and soil. What's more, they have a taste for things other than wood. Termites are known to chew through fabric, plastic, and wallpaper too. Termites are silent destroyers. Since they rest out of sight, you may not realize the extent of infestation until you go poking around the house or renovate. But by then, the damage is usually irreparable. Each year, termites cause over $5 billion in property damage in the US. That's right, $5 billion. For perspective, termites cause more damage than tornadoes or fires combined. In 2011, the National Pest Management Associate, NPMA, started Termite Awareness Week to generate more awareness about the issue. The week encourages homeowners and others to inspect their properties for the termite infestation and provide irreversible damages. Termite Awareness Week takes place the first week of spring because it is the peak of the termite swarming season. Still, it's worth remembering that termite control is an all-year endeavor. Take care of check decaying wood or plants around your house. Some giveaways that indicate termite presence are narrow mud cubes or spongy wood. Try and break them open to rule out termite workers living inside. Homeowners everywhere can take precautions by remaining vigilant. This day is also commemorated as Check Your Batteries Day in US, which is celebrated on the second Sunday in March. To raise sales, it was actually created to raise awareness about testing your batteries in various appliances or not having working batteries. These devices alert to be a potentially life-threatening scenario, allowing you to evacuate your family. However, they must be routinely tested, typically by pressing a button to ensure a proper operations. Check Your Batteries Day serves as a reminder to check the batteries in our homes and ensure they are working perfectly. Today is also commemorated as Festival of Life in Cracks Day in US to celebrate the sprouting of greenery in the cracks of sidewalks and walls to commemorate the coming of springtime. This annual event acknowledges the complexity of cycle of life and how renewal and rebirth are integral parts of it. The day encourages appreciation of wonders and beauty of nature and gloriousness of life. Life on Earth is a complex system that is defined by birth, death, and rebirth. Soil holds the roots of numerous flora and acts as a material in plants which live and die.